Creating Dairyland. How caring for cows saved our soil, created our landscape, brought prosperity to our state, and still shapes our way of life in Wisconsin. Written by Ed Janus. Primary narration by Kathleen Schmidt-Klein. Additional narration by Ed Janus and Tom Sinclair. Audio production by Chris Bocast for Divergent Arts Limited. Published by the Wisconsin Historical Society Press. Copyright 2012. From cottage to factory.
In 1837, Charles Rockwell started what was possibly the state's first retail cheese venture, selling cheese made on his farm near Fort Atkinson. Around the same time, near Lake Mills, the Pickett family started making cheese from the milk of their own cows and 10 they rented from neighbors. By 1841, they were milking 30 cows at their early co-op. Still, most pioneer farmers at this time continued to consume their milk and dairy produce at home. But a small number of farmers, mostly immigrants from New York cheese country, were beginning to experiment with dairying on a larger scale, expanding their home manufacturing to include cows or milk acquired from neighbors. But it was not until after the Civil War that a concerted effort to produce and sell cheese commercially was mounted in Wisconsin. Stephen Favell, who hailed from Herkimer County, New York, had built a cheese factory near Lake Mills in the 1840s. After the war, Favell returned to cheesemaking. He would go on to become one of the state's leading dairymen and a tireless advocate for the factory system of cheese manufacturing. Favell and Hiram Smith of Fond du Lac County were among the state's first factorymen, operating independently of farming, buying milk from their neighbors, and looking to profit by converting it through an industrial process that relied on professional expertise and high standards of quality. Entrepreneurs like Smith, Favell, and the other upright Yankee champions of righteous milk and cheese would be the linchpins in the Wisconsin dairy revolution. They would lead the way by creating desirable cheese of consistent quality, and by preaching, teaching, and regulating their sometimes irresponsible brethren into industrial rectitude and profits. Seeing that the market was beginning to reward cheese with cash money was the incentive farmers needed to consider changing their lives completely to care for cows. The pieces were beginning to fall into place for the ascendancy of the cow and the new type of farmer willing to care for her. By the last quarter of the century, the dairy revolution was well underway.
The sorry state of cheese and the birth of the dairy interest in Wisconsin. The Wisconsin Dairymen's Association was started in order to improve the sorry state of Wisconsin cheese. Its founders believed a strong dairy industry would create a growing economy, reversing the decline brought on by the wheat failure. Like so many who built our nation, they were civic boosters, encouraging economic growth by capitalizing and promoting the strengths of their local environment and resources. Not coincidentally, of course, boosters seek to improve their own net worth along with that of their neighbors. This sort of boosterism was one of the great economic engines that built America and Wisconsin. In order for the WDA to find markets for the state's fledgling cheese industry, it first had to improve the quality and desirability of Wisconsin cheese and lift milk up from its low and often adulterated state. As W.D. Hoard noted, there was no uniformity in the style and quality of our goods, and hence no buyers. Ultimately, the association had to protect dairying from human nature, that is, from the treachery and sloth of those cheesemakers, companies, and farmers who place self-interest above the interests of dairying as a whole. To cultivate human nature and battle selfishness, the association and other like-minded progressive interests would expound a new role for government in Wisconsin. They would help build a progressive state to correct and improve nature, especially its human variety. Regulation, education, and the uplifting of markets would save the dairy industry from numerous threats to the integrity of its products and profits. Hoard, speaking in 1879, could boast, "Wisconsin stands today as the second dairy state of the Union. Have we not a right to feel an honest pride in the result?" By 1889, the dairy interest had convinced the state to appoint a dairy commissioner to stand sentinel against threats, external and internal, to the quality and profitability of Wisconsin dairy products. In 1888, Hord himself was elected governor, having run as the cow candidate. The dairy interest and the progressive spirit it embodied was ascending, and to this day, dairying is a force to be reckoned with in Wisconsin politics.